I think we're live. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's give everybody a couple of seconds to hop on here. I know we had a few friends joining us today,
Okay,
and
good.
let's see. I think I got it. This
Woo.
being this television producer thing is a little hard, the live streamer, the podcaster, whatever the heck we're calling it today.
I was going to say this could be your side hustle.
You know what? I'm working on it. I'm working on it. As if we're trying to teach the old dog some new tricks.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes the dog age, actually catches up, but it's all good. It's all good. But welcome, everybody. I hope we have a good group joining us so they can throw some questions in with us here. And we are Monday Morning Coffee and Compliance. And it's Lisa, no Lori, because Lori skedaddled unexpectedly for the week. And instead, I have one of my favorite people, Cindy Diaz-Telly, and she is just, like I said, one of my favorite people. Good
Oh,
morning, Cindy.
same way about you. Yes, good morning, friends.
Good morning. And we just got done spending, a week together, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
at the beautiful new, what was it called? The Gaylord.
the Gaylord. Yes. Yes, it was quite fantastic. Quite
It was.
fantastic.
It was. And I really enjoyed our meetings. I will say, I was a good person and I didn't really go to a pool until after the meetings were done, but it was very tempting. And I'm sure a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, Chula Vista? And believe me, it is a gorgeous resort right on the bay in Chula Vista.
Yes,
Nice.
yes. And I understand it's going to be the crown jewel centerpiece as they are developing and building out that area. So it'll be exciting to see when we get there in 2 years from now
Yeah,
how much expansion has happened.
take these off since their glare's killing me right now.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's just I look at myself on the Zoom and it's like, oh, I can't even see my eyeballs. Oh heavens. But yes, it was a great location. They're building another hotel, I guess, behind it, another sister property. And
hmm
because we had a little, I don't want to say a little issue with rooms. It's a 1,600 room hotel and convention center. It's like Las Vegas without a casino.
hmm
But all the rooms weren't done, so we had some room issues. So hopefully in 2 years from now, we'll have that all ironed out. I hope.
Yes, yes.
It
Kind of
was
hard to believe
wonderful.
though, with 1,600 rooms, we were still having room issues.
I know. It really is amazing. I guess there's just a lot of us that want to be involved. What a problem to
Yes,
have, right?
what a problem.
Well, and I invited Cindy on this morning because Cindy she's a state director like I am,
hmm
and she's intimately involved as I am, and our paths kind of go like this. Sometimes we see each other a lot because we're in the same meetings. Sometimes our meeting schedules are such that we don't. But Cindy you are the chair this year of the Fair Housing Policy Committee, aren't you?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm finishing up my vice chair of the Professional Development and Education Committee at CAR. So I'm floating all over the place because mine was a Zoom meeting that took place a week before, but nobody knew about it, which we're having a little discussion on how to fix those things. But Cindy, how was your meeting? Why don't you tell us how things were? What were you doing down in Chula?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So fair housing policy, and we have a few things with the title fair housing, and so sometimes folks get confused a little bit. We have what is called the Fair Housing and Diversity Forum, which is always an educational event, but there aren't necessarily any motions that come out of that committee in regards to fair housing and diversity. Then we have actual fair housing policy. And that speaks to anything that's happening at the state level that could potentially cross over onto the federal side, that is going to affect any type of fair housing laws, which can include transacting real estate as well as transacting loans. And so this meeting, we actually did have what is called an IBP, an issue briefing paper, to review in regards to some federal policy changes of the current administration, by executive order, that affected FHA loans and who was now going to be entitled to them and who was not. And so
Can
that
we
took up
step
a
back a
good
minute and
portion.
explain what
Hmm.
happened to,
Yeah,
because this is something
absolutely.
that I don't think a lot of people understand what's going on. And I'm not going to make this a political
Yeah,
post by any means,
no,
but
absolutely.
this is an educational post, that topic that I'm going to say, because I think a lot of people were happy to hear DEI got abolished or whatever, but I
Hmm.
don't think people really understand what is happening in the name of that, of
Yes,
getting rid of DEI. So
yes,
what
absolutely.
happened to the FHA housing and USDA and disturbingly VA loan programs?
Hmm. So what happened was the end of May of this spring, May 25th to be exact. Um, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, revised their rules, making FHA loans only available to lawful permanent residents of the United States. In essence, those are individuals that have an official green card, that are a green card holder in the United States. And that non permanent residents, those with work visas or student visas or our DACA recipients, were no longer entitled to apply for FHA HUD housing loans. And that has been a segment of the FHA loan program that has been entitled to apply for loans, provided they meet all of the basic mandates of that loan program, for quite some time. Now, all of a sudden, that rule has changed. And it's going to take time to see the overall impact in actual data, that is going to be compounded based on the loss of loans that are no longer done for those individuals, and what it's going to look like in the overall real estate market, of how it's going to impact actual closed sales of FHA type loans from non-permanent residents. Um, and one of the things that came up that was a bit confusing, and as people stop you in the halls to share their opinions or ask questions, well, I heard, and so on and so forth. And so, as you're clarifying, dispelling rumors, things of that nature, the term that I kept hearing was, well, illegal immigrants shouldn't be entitled to. And I had to begin the conversation with, number one, it is not illegal to be an immigrant. Let's clarify that first. And what we're speaking about, number two, is green card holders, permanent residents versus non permanent residents. And what does it mean to be a non permanent resident? And I actually had a few people who came up to me who said, you wouldn't know this about me, but I came to this country on a student visa and went to college and, did this, that, and the other. One young lady shared that it took her family over a decade to get their green cards. It is not a quick and fast process, as some people believe or have been led to believe by things that they have heard. So it does take a very dedicated individual who wants to take this journey, complete this journey, and benefit from opportunities. So that in a nutshell is the background of it. So what it is speaking to is permanent residents, green card holders versus non-permanent residents, visa related work or school, and or DACA recipients who are our dreamers.
And it's pretty amazing when you hear about how long it does take to get a green card because
Hmm.
the United States has always attracted the brightest minds to come
Hmm.
and work in this country, whether it's research, whether it's education, whether it's technology, whether it's, shall we say, car manufacturing, whatever it is.
Right.
People come to this country for the opportunities that are presented to them by industry, by whatever business they're in. And
Yes, medical is actually a very big segment
yeah,
of that work visa situation. And we don't even realize how big of a segment of work population that is.
absolutely. And how many people come to the United States for an education, which actually I've heard, don't hold me to this, but I heard our number one import is education. People
Mhm.
coming to this country to educate themselves, get their degree, and then companies want to retain them. They want to keep them here because we just educated these super smart people at our super best schools, and they're going to go from a student visa to a work visa, hopefully,
Mhm.
until they can
Yes.
they can become green card holders. So
Mhm.
they shouldn't have the opportunity to buy a home when they're
Mhm.
contributing to our society. And people just have such a skewed idea of what's going on. If we make this country inhospitable to people to come and work and make this country the wonderful country it is. I'm having to choose my words very carefully here. Um, because people are already going other places. And this is just
Mhm.
one more reason for people to leave is to say, hi, you're not welcome here because we don't want you to buy a house. Oh, you DACA recipient that served in the armed forces, guess what? You can't get a VA loan.
Mhm.
And we need to
It,
take a long, hard look. Is this what people intended to happen? Just because somebody
yes.
doesn't have a green card doesn't mean that they're not contributing to society overall.
Mhm. Well, and I think some of the, uh, you know me well enough to know I'm always open to the conversation that is constructive. Please share your feelings. Let me clarify things that perhaps are misunderstood, or let me color in the picture for you so that you have a better understanding of what we're attempting to achieve here. And my biggest dispelling was the term illegal immigrant. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is always we are either a trade organization that believes in fair housing for all and not fair housing for some. And that is exactly, in my opinion, both personal and professional, that's exactly what this change has done. It has it has abbreviated the statement that now we are fair housing for some, but not fair housing for all. And I am a military mother and a military daughter. And if you're going to tell me that someone has taken up arms to defend this country and that American flag, then by virtue of their service, they are entitled to any and every benefit this country can provide them, because quite frankly, even that is not enough for what they have sacrificed and given. And that's just my
Absolutely.
little army mom soapbox moment.
Well, as a spouse of a deceased veteran, I will say I shared information with my son the other day, who's in his mid 30s, and him and his girlfriend were having a conversation about VA medical benefits. And both her father served as well as my son's. And they were talking about, oh, well, they must have medical coverage since they were both veterans. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Who told
Mhm.
you that? Oh no, 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 no. It doesn't always work that way. And it's
Mhm.
bad enough that we don't treat all veterans the same. Granted, the people that are getting the veteran medical benefits, they really need them. So I'm glad that my husband didn't take away from the needs of somebody else. But granted, I will tell you, it would have been really nice if we would have had some sort of assistance in that realm. But, again, another myth. Everybody just said, oh, well, all veterans get medical benefits.
Mhm.
No. And here we go with all veterans will be able to use their VA loan.
Mhm.
No, if this rule stays as it is, this law, I guess you would call it a
Yes.
law. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it is now I'm going to call it a law as well as a HUD policy. So HUD operates under the law of the federal government, and their policies are set by said laws. And so that is what's happening now, or that's what happened the end of May. And so now, fair housing policy at the state level put forth a motion that was meant to exercise our voice, if you will, as an organization. And we basically, the way that the motion read was that CAR support and encourage NAR, the National Association of Realtors, to support restoring FHA's previous approach of allowing non permanent residents to qualify for government backed mortgages, provided they meet all existing underwriting requirements. And for an example, some of those requirements would be lawful presence in the country by virtue of their visa or their DACA status, valid social security number or an ITIN number, and evidence of continued residency and income stability, meaning that they're either here continued residency through their education course or income stability through their work visa. And as I said at the beginning, this is the policy that has been in place for quite some time and that has benefited families over and over and over again, not just in California, but across the United States. And it is, quite frankly, one of the very first most valuable steps in creating generational security, stability, and wealth for those coming behind that first recipient.
So do we think NAR is going to be moving forward on this? What is their stance at this point, if you know?
So NAR right now, in talking to a few folks here at CAR, they said that they did not see an issue with carrying this forward at NAR. Hopefully, when we're in our winter or fall meetings in a couple of months, that they don't see an issue with carrying this forward and putting this on the, I'm going to assume, list of items that are being lobbied at the federal level, and seeing if we can find some, I'm going to say, calm voices in the HUD room that are willing to have the conversation and
Are there any
um,
voices at all in the HUD?
a girl
Did
can
you say
hope.
that? I'm sorry.
A girl can hope.
Absolutely.
So, but I think everything begins, we've been volunteers at this level for quite some time. Everything begins with conversation, everything begins with activity, which is how the issue briefing paper came about. And then everything begins after that with the work of carrying a motion forward. And we were fortunate because the exact same motion came out of two committees, both fair housing policy and transaction and regulatory. And so I was very, very fortunate to be able to go through the labyrinth, I'll call it, of CAR committees, executive and the board of directors, to bring the motion to the floor for the final vote by the CAR directors, and it passed resoundingly. So,
I'm kind of surprised it didn't even hit other committees as well, like home ownership, housing, and taxation and federal government finance. I mean,
well,
federal.
it hit because it came through fair housing policy and transaction and regulatory. Then we had to carry it to federal. So
Mhm.
we did appear at federal and presented the motion. And once it passed there, then we had to take it to the executive team. And once it passed there, then it made it to the floor.
Which
So,
I want to ask you to
yes,
share what happened when we were debating, which it really wasn't a lot of debate, but there was some really amazing comments that were said, especially by
yes.
one young man. Can you share that?
Yes. Well, I can tell you about both young men that came to the mics. The first one that came to the mic is Victor Reyes. He is a member of Fair Housing Policy Committee and is just a very, very huge proponent of fair housing. And he spoke at the mic and shared the history of fair housing, or excuse me, the history of HUD and FHA and why it was created and who it was supposed to serve, and so on and so forth. And just very much gave detailed information to people in the room that perhaps didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the background. And then the second young man that came to the mic, his name is Rico Rivera. And both of these young men are from Northern California. He is also a member of Fair Housing Policy, and he is a DACA recipient, as are his siblings. And he shared the story very poignantly of his history, his family's history, the legacy of his family's story. And he said, I remember jumping over the fence not too far from here, where the meetings were in Chula Vista, because we're very close to the border. And I remember being 8 years old. I remember being, you know, scared. And my mom said, we have to do this. We have to do this to make our lives better. And they did. And they never took anything for granted in regards to the opportunities that were placed in front of them when they became DACA recipients. And he is a very successful realtor to this day. He has served in leadership capacities, both at CAR as well as with affiliate organizations. And he speaks truth to power. And in rooms where you may have those that have not seen their way clear to supporting emotions such as this, you need people like Victor and Rico to speak that truth to power to help you understand that you are sitting shoulder to shoulder with people in a room that have the same ability to vote for something that you do, except their experience is incredibly lived. They're not just
Absolutely.
reading words, they've lived the words. They know what it feels like. And I was incredibly proud and emotionally moved, as many were in the room, that he received a standing ovation for sharing his story out loud and coloring it in for those that perhaps were challenged to vote in favor of the motion. So I couldn't have been more proud of him, because I know that wasn't the easiest thing to do.
That certainly was not, and it was something. If you were in the room, you know. And what was the outcome of the vote? What was the vote tally?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I didn't see the final vote tally. I hope you did, but I know that it resoundingly passed, and there was, I believe, less than 70 nay votes. And the
It was
great
somewhere
majority,
around 600 plus
yes,
against, I think, 54.
something like, yes, somebody
Something,
told
something
me
along those lines, because we had two votes that were in this realm.
in this
One
realm.
was for
Yes.
the diversity committee put forth a motion to what did they do? Let me look at my
Yeah, yeah,
notes.
you
We
go
had a
right
lot
ahead.
going on.
And I
We
will
had a
tell
lot
you, I
going on.
didn't see the final vote of my motion because I was trying to get my contacts to clear, because I did start
Oh,
crying away my
you
Miss
were crying.
Maybelline.
Heather was crying. I was crying. Everybody was crying. It
I
was
just thought,
really
oh my
quite
God, I can't
amazing.
see.
Well, and the fact that we gave ourselves, and I can say we gave ourselves two
Mhm.
standing ovations that day. Well, one was for him and his story, but then
Hmm.
we did the right thing. We voted it through resoundingly. And trust
Yes.
me, folks, this doesn't always happen at
No.
CAR. We've had
No.
some rather controversial things in the fair housing world come up in the
Mhm.
past that I was embarrassed to be listening to the conversation because it's like we have to convince people that this is the right thing to do. And
Mhm.
they were votes, and usually not usually, we did the right thing, but it was a tighter margin. What I really am proud of is seeing that margin drop
Yes.
is to a big
Hmm.
resounding yes and a very small no. I mean, we've got a room of like about, I would say somewhere around 750-ish people in there because you couldn't get a real feel because you don't know
Yeah.
who's voting really and who's not voting on certain things. But to see around 50 people out of a room of about 700
Hmm.
voting against something,
Hmm.
and normally, we can say, do you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? And we're still going to get people that are going to vote no just because they want to see that there are
Hmm.
no votes up on the board, just for the heck of it. But 54 people,
Yeah.
54 people.
And,
How many
and
of them
I
get
will
the
tell
button
you,
wrong?
as we were all, clearing out and saying our goodbyes and heading for the door to head home, I actually had a couple of gentlemen who came up to me and stopped me, and they said, "Hey, Cindy, we just wanted to let both of us were on the fence. We were more apt to vote no than yes. But what you shared, what the young men shared at the mic, actually, we appreciate you having a conversation with us the day before because they were some of the folks that had stopped me. And they said, we actually voted to support it. So thank you for carrying it through." And I just thought, you're not going to always convince everyone. I am old enough to know you're not going to get everything you want when it comes to policy. But if you can convince a few minds to look through their viewfinder from a different angle, it's going to change everything about how they look at things in regards to this subject matter. And that's why we do what we do.
And what's really interesting is there was people that went to the microphone
Hmm.
that you did not expect to hear
Hmm.
voting in favor of the motion. And it's
Yes.
like, that was really cool.
Yeah. Uh,
And I think that carried a lot of weight too.
hmm.
So I'm very proud of the work we did with that. The diversity committee, it was a diversity leadership roadmap or leadership diversity roadmap for both the state and for local associations to have a roadmap in promoting leadership opportunities for all. And when we say
Yes.
leadership opportunities for all, we mean all. And all can mean your race, your gender, your sexual identity, your age, your weight, your being a shy person, you being like
Yes.
lost on how to get involved. It's if you want to get involved, we're going to show you how to get involved. We don't care
Exactly.
what you are, just we want you to be involved and feel that you are part of these associations. And that's what inclusion means. Inclusion is
Hmm.
not a dirty word. Diversity is not a dirty word. And
No.
equity, you really need to understand what equity means. It's not equality. Equity is
Correct.
not equality. They're two different things. And for those of us that are watching this on YouTube, dictionary is a wonderful thing. Um, it's been my friend lately. And it's nice that we're approaching it from that angle versus this whole us versus them. DEI
Yes.
is evil, therefore you want nothing to do with it. And I think that everybody pretty soon is going to understand,
Hmm.
if you abolish DEI in the world, which I think a few years ago we called that canceling. Um, it just depends who's saying what where. That
Hmm.
pretty soon you're going to be part of that.
Yeah.
So, there's everybody's affected by this, and sooner or later it's
Yes.
going to affect you if things keep on this current route.
Hmm. Nope, that is correct. And the thing about it for me, and I said it in a meeting earlier in the year, I don't even use the acronym any longer because I am so upset the way it was hijacked and politicized and turned
Absolutely.
into something dirty.
Turned into
So
a
if
weapon.
somebody starts to have that conversation, um, I will immediately say, okay, well, what about diversity are you opposed to? And tell me why. What about equity are you opposed to? And tell me why. Or what about inclusion are you opposed to? And tell me why. I want to understand. And when you use the words versus the acronym, it doesn't give people the opportunity to go into their boilerplate statement about what that acronym means to them. And usually it's something that they've heard in social media or news or wherever they get their information from, and it turns into something that is completely negative. And there isn't anything about diversity, equity, or inclusion that should ever be a negative, because all of us, no matter who we are, whether we're a minority or a majority population or group, nobody should ever be excluded. Nobody should ever be zeroed out because of who they are, what they are, how they pray, what they wear. Yeah, there's no reason for it. And as soon as we make space and create reasoning for it, we're doomed for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the tough conversations we have. And I just am so happy that we have an opportunity to have these conversations, whether it's just here
Mhm.
within this group, whether it's, at our local association, whether it's at our state or national associations. I mean, you look at the two of us, we're a couple of those things that they would like to cancel. I mean, yeah, I'm half white. I'm also half Mexican. So, and then I'm a woman, so I'm, mixed race, double whammy, boom, I'm gone and you got the. Same thing going on. And I don't know about you, but I've never felt in my life ever felt less of anything and anybody else just because I happen to be a
Mhm.
woman. And to give people a voice to say, yeah, you are less. You're less because you're Latina. You're less because you're a woman. You're less for whatever reason it is. It's like, no, I have a really hard time convincing me that I'm less. And I'm sure they're going to have a very hard time convincing you, Cindy, because I know you too well for that.
I will tell you, I have had times and spaces in my life where people attempted to make me feel less than. And when I was very, very young, I was raised by a single father in the 60s. And he said to me when I was quite young, you need to understand you were born with three strikes against you. Number one, you were born a girl. Number one, you were born a brown girl, and or number two, you were born a brown girl, and number three, no one expects anything from a brown girl except to work in the fields or packing houses or stay at home and have babies. So you're going to have to figure out how to be not twice as good but three times as good. You're going to have to use your words, and no matter what you say what you mean, and you mean what you say. Otherwise, say nothing at all. And when you're a kid, and my dad was very hard on me, 82nd Airborne, he was hard, but he was setting me up for a world that was going to marginalize me for obvious reasons by simply looking at me. And I was born in a time of Cesar Chavez and the boycotts and segregating the schools where we lived. We moved to a newer area. I got put on a bus and sent back to the area we had just moved out of. There was a lot that went on during that time in the 60s. And what it helped me to understand was, yes, there were going to be things along the path of life that weren't going to be fair, but as long as I had my voice and I used it in a constructive way, that I wasn't just responsible for what I was saying, my message. I was also responsible for how my message was received by those that were hearing it. So if you hear me go to a mic or you hear me speak up in any one forum or conversation, it is because I have thought about what I'm feeling right now, and I have tried to string the words together that when I say them, I mean what I say, and it's going to be received by those that I intend to be the recipients. Not in a hateful way, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that it is going to hopefully change someone's way of thinking.
And I
And
will tell you this, if you've ever heard Cindy at a microphone, I'm trying to remember what the 220s and
oh,
eight quarters.
4 quarters.
I mean, really, this woman knows how to put something into a succinct package and deliver it eloquently. I only wish I had 25% of your skill in doing that, because Lord knows a couple of times I got up there and I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? But Cindy always, always has a message, words of wisdom. There is nothing I can recall without you making an impact on the room in which you speak.
Thank you, friend. I am grateful for those kind words. And I think in a world where there is so much noise and so many words that are not always kind, you can still speak up on something with fever and with passion, but you have to remember to be respectful. And I always joke about, okay, let me go dig in my box for my Henry Kissinger hat real quick, because what I'm going to say might have a little sharp point to it. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking to draw anybody's blood. I'm simply looking to get someone's attention.
Absolutely.
And I think that's how, whether it's our organization at the state level, at the federal level, all the way down to the local level, at the end of the day, that's how you mentor people to step into their belief system, string those beliefs into words, but always leave the room knowing that you tried to do good. You tried to make the situation better, not that you split wood and threw more onto the fire. Nothing's achieved. Zero. Waste of
Absolutely.
my time.
Yeah, you are an amazing person, a wonderful friend, and just overall an amazing person. And all of the work that you have done and will continue to do is amazing. And what's on tap for you next year? Do you have any
I
positions?
actually do. I'm super excited because next year I'm stepping off the policy block for a year, and I am going to be chairing the Fair Housing and Diversity Forum next
Yeah,
year. Yeah, which,
yeah.
that is definitely my wheelhouse of love right now. And I get to work once again with D'Anthony Nelson and Ryan J. As part of my staff, and we've worked together in the past, and so super excited. And then I have the effervescent Miss Jessica Eva, who's going to be my vice chair. So
Oh,
I
this
think
should
the
be
two of us
fun.
together is going to be just like fireworks on tap.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be must-see TV. That's for darn sure.
Yeah,
I'm going
super
to love
excited
that.
about that team. Super excited. So,
Fantastic. Good for you.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to be doing next year?
I'm going to be chair of the Professional Development and Education Committee, and we're going to be
Nice.
doing some good stuff. We're going to be a
Yeah.
little bit more, supposedly we're a two-way street, but we've kind of been a one-way street, which is, hi, we're going to talk at you and tell you what we think you said.
Uh-huh.
Instead, they anybody who's listening, don't tell them yet, but I'm looking at roundtable discussions on what it is that we need to help our members develop, what they need to learn to be better realtors, and then maybe we'll share some information. I'm going to make this a true two-way street of information. I am finishing my 3-year term on at a national level of
Huh.
being the NAR Research Committee chair. I'm the immediate past chair of that. And we always do roundtables. We do some reporting.
Yeah.
We always do roundtables, and that is where the magic happens. When you get people in a room and you start the conversations, take some really good notes, and then share those notes and see
Hmm.
what gets everybody excited. And I'm going to bring that to professional development and education because I want to offer the classes that our members need. Just for a little bit of what we did this past meeting, we held a really, really super good forum. I wish it would have been recorded because like I said, we had some scheduling issues, and I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of people knew where we were, uh, including a lot of our regional reps, which that's not good. But we did a panel on trust and probate, and we had a probate or a trust and probate attorney, a title rep, and a practitioner that does really basically nothing but probate, which I don't
Hmm.
know how that guy keeps his cookies all in one spot because man, that I would lose it on that. And plus the committee leadership, we got to interject too because I've been doing a lot more trust work, and
Okay.
it's stuff that people need to do their job because there's two things that we know that are true in life: death and taxes. Well, I'm not
Yes.
yay, but I can help you on the death side, because
Hmm.
there's a lot that people really need to know out there. And if we as realtors don't know what we're doing, well, then, we don't have those necessary tools. So
Yeah.
I just want, I'm not about the lead generation and how to do all this flashy stuff on social media. Mine is you better have some darn good tools in your toolbox because that's
Hmm.
what's going to get your referral. The taco truck in front of somebody's house that's you do for the day looking for your next listing is not going to help you if you completely derail the sale of a probate listing of some,
Yes.
or you're taking a listing from somebody who doesn't even have authority to be signing documents.
Hmm.
How often does that happen? A little bit more than we care to admit.
Yeah. Well, and we're in that season. I mean, I've had 4 listings this past summer. Every single one of them was a trust.
Yeah,
And it is, we're in that season of, the family homes and the elders, they either need to move in with their children to be cared for, or they're passing away and now the family needs to sell the home. So we are definitely in that season, and those are valuable tools to protect those assets that have been, in one case I had a house that hadn't changed hands in 53 years.
absolutely. And,
So,
and also, too, just I'm going to put a plug out there in case anybody's listening until September 30th. You can go on to CAR's website where you can get all the wonderful education courses. What it is off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'll put it in the chat later. And you can put in the discount code probate10 and get
mhm,
10% off of the trust and probate course, which I'm going to say of
mhm,
all of the courses that I've taken through CAR and NAR, that was the most valuable course. And it gets
yeah,
you a nice little certificate that you can show your clients. And, it's just something to really just help us
yeah,
do our job better because our job is service. And if we don't know how to provide this service, what good are we?
yeah, absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Well, before we get off on a tangent of Lisa telling you every class that you should take, let's see what other fun things happen. Because, gosh, we have been chatting now for almost 45 minutes.
Oh man.
I
Okay.
know. Time flies when
Time
you're having fun, right?
flies. Yes.
Okay, so let me see what's next on the agenda.
All
Okay.
right then.
One of the things that couple of things that I just want to bring up so people know that this is on the radar
Hmm.
for what the realtor associations are working on, whether it be local, state, or national. These are all things that are important. Um, the first thing is we're working on trying to get somebody somewhere to pay attention to what HOA management companies are doing. And
Hmm.
we had a couple of motions come from homeownership housing, which I am on that committee. There was another motion that sounds like it's something that's really important. We're not going to get into it because it's only for new home sales. and it's not on a ballot yet, so it doesn't matter. We'll talk about that if it becomes
Okay.
something. But two things that they talked about were HOA management company related. The first one, I'm just going to touch on briefly because I don't think
Okay.
it's as big a deal as the second one. The first one is that we are against homeowners association management companies and HOA boards using reserve funds to fight their own members when in litigation, which I heard opposing views on this. For me, kind of, the jury's out, because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, kind of, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so that's a big problem there. However, the biggest surprise that I had was HOA boards and management companies have no fiduciary duties to the homeowners in their associations, which you're like, wait a minute, I'm giving you how many hundreds of dollars and
Mm-hmm.
you have no duty of care to me as a
Yes.
homeowner in this association. So we are proposing to move legislation forward that would change this, where they have to have a fiduciary duty like us as realtors have to our clients.
Yes.
Um,
I would say to you that that is, and I did know that from a listing that I had, and the HOA was being sued, and they did not have a management company. It was managed by other homeowners, and it really was quite the hornet's nest of a legal mess, if you will. And when I found that out, I said, how in the world is that possible when you are transacting so many tens of thousands of dollars and there's no fiduciary involved here? And you have homeowners pitted against homeowners.
yeah,
There is just something legally and ethically wrong here.
I could not agree more. I'm seeing things that HOAs are doing that are certainly not in the best interest of the homeowners. It may be in the best
Hmm.
interest of the people serving on the HOA board. Also, just because they don't have to get educated because, well,
Hmm.
there's no licensing requirements. Not that I think a
Hmm.
real estate license is going to help HOA management companies.
Hmm.
I think it's a bigger issue than that, and the state's going to be putting together a California condominium task force. Even though HOAs are broader than condominiums, you also have
Yes.
master associations and
Yes.
single family homes that have their own associations. This is a huge issue that these companies basically operate under their own rules and nobody else's. Who do you report
Hmm.
them to?
Hmm.
You to report them to. Do I think the DRE is where it needs to go? No, because a lot of the things they're doing, maybe they're trust fund related, but something tells me the Department of Corporation must have some laws in there too for,
Yeah.
handling members' funds. There's just so much wrong. And to find out, and dummy me, I'm walking around over the past 6 months. Well, these HOAs have a fiduciary duty to their homeowners. Oh, guess what, Lisa? You were wrong. And I know many of you know that it pains me to admit such things, but I'm wrong a lot. But that one was one that I'm like, get out of town
Yeah.
because that is the concept itself is so wrong.
Hmm.
So stay tuned on that. We've got a lot of work to do because
Yeah.
HOAs are running people's properties and their property values along with them into the ground right now
Hmm.
because they do not understand that they're harming the people they're supposed to be helping.
Yes. Well, and it almost, my very first home was in an HOA, was a condo. It is almost as though you have to, and I hate the word ban, but you almost have to ban homeowners from being the creators of the board of directors, and it should have to go to a third party outside entity to be managed and handled, that can be regulated, if you will, for mismanagement of funds, etc. Because when you have a group of people that, I'll use the term throw in together, there is always going to be those that are not in the circle, not allowed in the circle, that had a disagreement with somebody on that board and now is, blackballed in the community, etc. And so homeowners should all be on an even playing field. And the only way to do that is to bring in a third party entity that is regulated, that
And
does have
is
to have their
knowledgeable.
books reviewed. Yes, that does understand the law, that does have to have some level of licensing that says they are skilled and prepared to handle these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a management contract, very much like property management. It, it
Absolutely.
it is really an entity, and I think a lot of these HOAs have really started to see the challenges of managing money, where money just seemed to flow very easily in times past until it didn't with the downturn market. And now they're seeing money not flow as easily to manage based on what they're able to collect every month, with insurability costs.
Insurability, the balcony inspection situation,
Yes.
deferred maintenance,
Yes.
and it's like, how did you guys get into this position in the first place?
Hmm.
Well, because nobody knew or was telling, and I can say this because I have kind of a little bit of an intimate knowledge of how all of that kind of works or worked a while back, and I'm sure it has not
Hmm.
gotten any better. In fact, I'm sure it's gotten worse. I served on my HOA board of directors for, I want to say, about 8 years. Take that back, maybe about six. And then my son worked for a very large property management company that manages HOAs for a couple of
Hmm.
years. And he was living at home when he did. And he would bring home stories. And I'm like going, oh, holy crap. You mean what I thought as a joke was happening is actually happening?
Happening.
And it's like, oh yeah, that fence project goes to the highest bidder of Christmas gifts that they could bribe me with.
Hmm.
And people with zero experience, people that, and
Yeah, that's
nothing against you
crazy.
if you work at Target or whatever, but oh, we're going to hire this cashier from Target because I referred him and I get a $300 gift card if I refer somebody that will actually do this job, because it's not a very nice job to have. And these people don't know. These people don't know. They don't know
Hmm.
what a good fence contract is, what to do with delinquent accounts. I mean, it's crazy. And I was on the board during the Great Recession, and I was like, okay, let me bring a little bit
Crazy
of
time.
sanity to these board meetings because none of you know what's going on,
Hmm.
including the property manager,
Hmm.
the community manager, excuse me.
Hmm.
So it is an industry ripe for some kind of regulation to
Yes.
protect people, because you're paying money to these people every month and you have no idea what
Hmm.
they're doing with it. And guess what? They probably don't either.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
some,
and if you look at it from the side of regulation, yes, you're paying an HOA monthly fee or yearly fee, however it's structured, but it is attached to the most valuable asset, no doubt, that many of these folks own. So the minute that asset is affected in any negative way, there is no one that can convince me that it should be regulated by other homeowners. That,
absolutely. And they're trusting somebody that used to be a cashier at Target.
yeah, and nothing wrong with being a cashier at
Nothing
Target,
wrong with that.
but
I
you
mean, I just know
simply
the
don't
training I
have the
had.
monetary, yeah, you don't have the financial skill set or wherewithal to know what to do. It is more than just addition and subtraction. And with no regulation, when the coffers are empty and you've got a monumental issue in front of you, plumbing, electrical, anything like that, what are you going to say to homeowners whose devaluing is literally happening in front of their eyes?
And believe me,
The
we're seeing it. We're seeing it
Yeah,
right now. And
yeah.
it's really
The need for
amazing.
regulation is, and everybody, that is of the belief system, we need less government than more government. I totally understand that. But if it is your only asset in life and it is your largest asset in life, you don't put that into the hands of someone with zero skill set and expect them to do a phenomenal job of managing your asset, because that is basically what you do when you pay a monthly HOA fee. You were saying, I am paying this fee, I'm required to pay it because I live here, and I am trusting you, the person I'm giving the money to be doing an outstanding job of protecting and managing my asset.
Yep.
There,
And
there's
I
no
tell you,
way.
the only training I got when I went on that board was let me teach you about laddering your reserves accounts. So when one comes mature, then you bring it somewhere else, but you don't have them all mature at the same time. That's what
Yeah.
I learned at my HOA director
Hmm.
training.
Yeah. Well, you
Nothing
got more
about
training than
contracts,
I
nothing
did
about
when
delinquent
I owned
accounts.
my condo.
I mean, it's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
And I'm gonna tag on one other thing that has a little something to do with HOAs because, well, we all know insurance is a problem, but there's something that I'm just going to bring to everybody's attention real quick. Cindy and I were talking about it before. There was a term that was being thrown around at the meetings regarding insurance, and it's called Zone Zero.
Hmm.
And people are throwing this term around like people know what it means regarding fire hardening, which people don't know. What does this mean? And I think we need to do a better job of speaking English instead of, insurance jargon or whatever. But just in case you hear the term zone zero come up,
Yeah.
what they're talking about is the space between your home structure and
Hmm.
5 feet away from it. And that area is what we're going to be seeing turn into you cannot have anything combustible on a 5 foot
Hmm.
perimeter around your house. I don't know if that what happens if you have a detached garage or outbuildings or whatever. I just know suburban Orange County. That's all we have. Garages are attached unless you're out in the canyon. But this means no plants,
Hmm.
no combustible mulch, no wood mulch, nothing that can burn within a 5 foot perimeter of your house. So you're talking rocks, you're talking
Hmm.
concrete, you're talking dirt. And this is going to be something we're going to be hearing more of. It's just now starting to have this cute little buzz name. And I
Hmm.
just wanted everybody to understand what that little buzz name meant. 5 foot clearance, nothing combustible from your house, 5 feet out. Am I
Yes.
missing anything, Cindy?
No, I think you explained it well for what we've got to work with right now. And I think it'll be interesting to see because we still have new construction going on where I live. And it's going to be interesting to see how developers are building for this zone zero moving forward, because you're going to have a lot of people who are like, what do you mean I have to cut down all my rose bushes that are right up against my windows, and
Or
things
those
of that.
lovely bougainvilleas growing around my
Oh
garage?
yes. Absolutely. You're going to start to see a lot of folks that perhaps um are not necessarily real happy with zone zero from an aesthetic visual presentation. But if that's going to be one of the required items as this kind of unfurls, um i- insurance is just so difficult now that it's almost as though, okay, here is what our expectation is in order to insure you, period. And I think 2026, that'll probably be one of the topics that is hotter than not
Yeah,
as it gains ground and becomes less of a buzzword and more as everyday jargon.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yep. So stay tuned right here, folks, for the latest and the greatest on that. because we just aim to serve you with information that's going to help you do your daily job and maybe help you in your daily life as well. Because I know I'm looking at some landscape plans and I'm putting a non-combustible deck out on the front of my house, and all those plants are gone, and then I'm going to be in compliance. And I'm pretty sure the insurance company wouldn't help me do it anyhow after I
Yeah.
took out 3 huge trees out of my backyard because I did not know that my house was the line for a very high fire severity zone. And
Oh,
I took out the trees anyhow, but I'm really glad I did. And then they changed the maps and now moderate again. So I don't, was it because I took my trees out?
yeah.
I had
Don't
impact
question
on
it. Just
Culver
go with
County.
it. Don't
Exactly.
question it.
Well, it's 10 o'clock on the nose. Cindy, if you get
All
a
right.
chance, go in and read the comments. We have some really nice comments in there about you. And
Aw.
we're so happy for those of you that joined us today. It's been a real treat to have Cindy here to talk about what was going on at the state. We're happy you joined us. I'm going to try to be really diligent about getting this posted onto Nerdy Real Estate Resources Facebook group. And I'm also going to post it on the Deliberately Fair Housing Facebook group because we had a really good conversation I don't want people to miss. And I don't think we really imagined it going as deep as it went, but it went really good. So, on that note, I am going to attempt to stop this crazy thing. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you again,
Yeah.
Cindy. And we will see you in 2 weeks, every other Monday. Every other Monday, we're planning on being here. So, stay
All
tuned.
right.
Talk to you
Thanks,
later.
friend. Love you.